So, hello everybody and everywhere. We are starting with the sitting comfortably. And then we make the sound of R. And we feel it, we feel the sound. It's not just mentally, but we feel the sound. And we imagine the white luminous letter R in our center. So it means we are not looking at this R. It's not an object. This is very important, that this R is not an object. And it appears, manifests clearly with a shape. And we know this shape is R. So it's not really important to make a figure in all details, the figure of a letter. But it's important to know it's R. It represents sound. So it means like we hear this sound mentally. We have this sensation of a sound. So it's important that we know it. We know this letter. And to know a letter means that as soon as we look at a letter, we know its sound. It's connected with the sound. Yeah. Otherwise, even if you know this letter means ah, but we don't feel that. So for example, if you put some Chinese characters, so probably for most of you that would mean nothing, or from some alphabet that you don't know, there is no function. So it means that when we imagine the presence of R, this R is a symbol of a sound. So it's not really the figure that should be present, but this sensation of a sound should be present. This is important. And we also have a shape of 5 colors. And this clarity is present even though it's not material, but it's clearly present. It does not exist, but it's clearly manifesting. So this is also a symbol. This is a symbol of Prajna Paramita as well, because the things manifest clearly even though they do not ultimately exist. We cannot find anything. But we know this is white R, this is not something else. So we can differentiate, we can tell. So this presence appears, the presence of this clarity appears. And then we relax without effort. So first we need to generate some effort to make this R manifest. This effort is referring first with sound, and then we have an intention, and then we are referring to our memory to take it out from the memory to manifest. So this is an effort. But then when this clarity appears, then we relax and this clarity continues by itself. We say self-perfected means that by itself, without need to apply any effort. So, and we continue in this presence, so we just relax in this presence for some time. And this is the state of Guru Yoga. So we say that this manifestation of R is self-perfected, and in general, self-perfection is a very important principle of Dzogchen. And self-perfection means that we really don't need to apply effort. I already mentioned that when we say self-perfected, and we say like Hundrup, and when we say Dzogchen, also like total perfection or total completion, in this way, perfection means totally different things. Totally different things. Also, in Tibetan language, there are two different words. So we say Dzogpa, Dzogpa Chenpo means total perfection. And Hundrup, we say it means self-perfection. So these two perfections are very different. The same word, we use the same word in English to translate, but the origin is totally different. Hundrup means, literally means self-established or self-perfected in a way that we don't need to apply effort, we don't need to create anything, self-existing in a way. Because sometimes this word drupa, establishing or achieving, is synonymous with existence. Yeah. Because how we know something exists? We need to establish something exists. Then we know something exists. Otherwise, it's just our imagination. So that's why we say like thoroughly established nature, for example, there is this term. And it means that we really establish something with our experience, and then we can say, oh, it exists. Yeah. Otherwise, like, for example, green extraterrestrials, for example, yeah, we can say, oh, maybe they exist. Oh, could be, maybe. Who knows? We don't know. But this is one thing to say they exist or believe, but another thing is to establish. Yeah. Like, for example, in microphysics, in quantum physics, they say they discover some kind of particles, but they do not really discover particles. They discover some traces of these particles, some traces, and from these traces they establish something, but this establishing is mental. It was like, ancient paleontologists, they would find one claw of a lion, and then they imagine, they know how this lion looked like. That was this Latin expression, ex ungue leonem. So they find one thing, and they have an idea that from this one nail, or claw, they discover how the whole animal looked like. And there was a lot of mythology in paleontology, etc. Yeah, this is not what is established. It's imagined. Yeah, imagined nature. But established, it means really it has connection with our experience. It connects with our experience. It's something we can feel, something real, not something imagined. Yeah. So our interpretation can be wrong, etc., but it means we establish, we discover something in our experience. Yeah. So Hundrup means that the qualities we are looking for, we don't need to look for them. The qualities manifest according to circumstances, like in the mirror, like reflecting in a mirror. We don't really need effort for the mirror to manifest something. As soon as a secondary cause appears, the potentiality of mirror reflects immediately, without any effort, without any delay, without any intention. So this is the idea of self-perfected. And when we say complete, it means like nothing is missing. We don't need to improve. We also don't need to wait that something is going to be improved. Everything is like full, perfect in this sense, cannot be made better. So it means we are totally satisfied. And in general, if you are really Dzogchen practitioner, we should be satisfied with whatever. And it means like, in a way, we should be happy. Not happy because we get something, we receive something, but just being happy like our condition. It means that when we feel, oh, I am so poor being, I have so many problems, I'm suffering. Oh, it means in this moment, we are not a Dzogchen practitioner, we are not practicing Dzogchen. We are practicing mind. We are not satisfied with our condition. Even we think, oh, I'm still not enlightened after 30 years, I'm still not enlightened. Yeah, it means, well, okay, but what the hell? Why would you need this enlightenment? What is the tension? And really, people are nervous when they discover they're still not enlightened and they cannot become a Buddha or a Batman, you know. So, and there is a lot of tension. So if you look at ourselves, if you look at ourselves, for example, or we look at people who come for retreats, you know, there is something you can know, or you can see very often that people are fighting for the places in the first row, you know, being closer to the teacher. They are fighting. And then if they miss something, then it becomes a tragedy. Like if there is no webcast connection, etc., so it's becoming a tragedy. Something like this. So there is a lot of tension, and we really should understand that this tension is not about the teaching. It looks like this is a tension about the teaching, that a person is so much devoted, is struggling to go to the teaching, etc. But very often it's about tension. It's about wanting something, like becoming a Batman or something like this, not about being enlightened. So enlightenment becomes a cause of attention. This is something wrong with this enlightenment, if it is a cause of attention. So this is just an idea, oh, I'm missing something, I have this and that, but I'm missing enlightenment. And this creates a huge tension, and in Dzogchen we don't have it. Even in Dzogchen we say that, okay, we wish for achieving enlightenment, for benefiting all sentient beings, but in real sense, this is coming from Sutra, and we are integrating it into our practice, because we integrate all Sutra and Tantra and Dzogchen, we integrate everything. But it is not an idea of Dzogchen wishing to become enlightened, like at any cost, with suffering and struggle. It means we are not on the path of Dzogchen. When we are on the path of Dzogchen, we are satisfied. It means we discover our primordial state and we are satisfied, because there can be nothing better than that. There cannot be anything worse than that at the same time. I mean, say it's perfect not only in the sense that there can be nothing better, but also there can be nothing worse. Yeah. Why? Because you cannot compare it to anything. First of all, because it cannot be an object for our minds, because it's only for minds that can be better or worse. And even the idea of being complete or missing something, this is an idea of mind. Yeah. And in real sense, when we say Dzogchen like a total completion, it doesn't really mean that we have everything, you know? Like, you know, children, they sometimes they collect these small figures, small dolls from Kinder Surprise, yeah? Yeah. And then they make collections, and when they have like 10 types of penguins or something like this, they feel this is completed, nothing is missing. And when one penguin is missing, then there is a lot of suffering. Yeah, maybe somebody stole, or maybe the child lost this penguin, etc. Or maybe for so many months, and they're buying this egg, buying, but always wrong penguins are coming, you know. And then there is a suffering, but then finally the final penguin are happy finally. Yeah. This is not like this. We say total completion. It means that we go even beyond being complete or missing. Because being complete or missing, this is an idea of our mind. Yeah. And if you go beyond mind, that there is no this idea of completion, but we use the right word to say. And very often, we, in Dzogchen teaching, we use general words from general Buddhist teaching or from some yoga terminology, etc. And then we use, we add the word Chenpo. And Chenpo or Maha, which is usually translated as great, we are not adding to show our supremacy. We don't need to show our supremacy. Huh? Say, oh, our teaching is better. Others, they have just samadhi, but we have a Maha Samadhi. Yeah. Other people, they have just Siddhi, and we have Maha Siddhi, etc. No. It is showing that it's going beyond this limited idea of having or not having, existing or non-existing, continuing or interrupting, etc. Like, for example, in there is a discussion about Atman and Anatman. You know, this is very famous. Yeah. Atman and Anatman. And Buddha, when Buddha was teaching, he was teaching something new. He was teaching Anatman, like no self, something like this. Because when we are looking and when we are trying to establish what makes ourselves us, what makes myself to be me, we don't find anything. We cannot find anything concrete. We cannot establish anything. And this principle of not being able to establish anything is called Anatman. And you know, in the time of Buddha, everyone was talking about Atman, like an individual element, the beginning, some principle. And this Atman is like the only reality, and everything else is illusory, and this Atman exists, and it goes through existence and non-existence, etc. So like something solid and established, something that never dies. So in general, in Hindu teachings, the idea of immortality is very important. But in Dzogchen, we are not talking about immortality, because immortality is also an idea of mind, being live or being dead. This is relative. This is an idea of mind. In Dzogchen, we sometimes say life and death is eternal life is life and death. So it means we already have eternal life. It's just changing life and death. Life and death is changing, and this is called eternal life. You know, I remember a story. It happened a few years ago in Kunsangar. We had a retreat with Chogyal Namkha Norbu. Maybe it was 2013 or something like, yeah, something like 2013. And then one lady came to Chogyal Namkha Norbu, and she asked a question, and she was very frustrated. She was very sad. She was very sad about eating meat on Gana Puja, because she had ideas that they should not eat meat, people should not eat meat. And why did she have this idea? Because she also had some other teacher. And that teacher, like Hindu teacher, something like this, and that teacher told her that she couldn't become, she couldn't have eternal life if she eats meat. And then she said, if I eat meat, I will not have an eternal life. But then Rinpoche asked her a very nice question, very logical question. But when are you going? When did this teacher promise you that you would have this eternal life? And then she said, after death. You know? And then something clicked in her head. Something really clicked, that it was ridiculous, yeah? You're promised eternal life, but this eternal life is promised after death. Yeah. So, it's a little bit ridiculous. And then she became happy, because she understood that her strong ideas that created so much tension were totally false and illusory. You know, they promise you something, eternal life, but you want this life to be eternal, no? What we want to continue this existence. This is our attention. And they say, oh, okay, you will have like continuation of your existence, but after you die. Yeah. Okay, so, and then she became happy. I don't know if she started to eat meat or not, but at least she was very happy at that moment because there was no more this tension related to an idea. So in general, this idea of Atman is considered non-Buddhist, particularly in Hinayana Buddhism. And sometimes people say that Anatman denies the idea of Atman. But this is not really true, because Buddha never said, in real sense, that Atman did not exist. Because for saying something exists or does not exist, even to deny existence of something, you have to accept this existence in order to deny it. So first you feel it exists, and then you deny it. Yeah, but how can you deny something that does not exist? So in real sense, Buddha was saying that we cannot find anything like me or mine in all appearances and all phenomena. If you are searching, if you are looking, we cannot find anything like me or mine. So it means anatman. And you know, from the Santi Mahasanga base, from the precious vase, where we have these exercises, 5 exercises of Prajna Paramita, very important. And particularly the first one means that we are searching for this I, for this ego, that is performing actions and is receiving experiences. And we are searching for it. And the point is that we cannot find anything, and then we relax in this non-finding, in this uncertainty. It is not the point that we establish that Atman does not exist. You know, like 2 weeks ago, we had a very important day. I mean, in the Soviet Union, it was a very important day, April 12th. Yeah, it's called the Day of Cosmonauts. Yeah, why? Because on April 12th, 1961, Gagarin went to space. Yeah, the first human. He went to space. And then when he came back and somebody was asking him what was his experience, like maybe some religious experience, but he was an atheist, he was a communist, said, I was in space, I was in heaven, and I did not see God, you know. And it was like a proof, you know, they are saying, religious people like Christians are saying that if you go to heaven, there is a God in heaven, and then Gagarin went to heaven and he didn't find a God. So God does not exist. Yeah, so it was a kind of evidence, a kind of proof. But of course, if you cannot find something, it doesn't mean it does not exist, you know. Yeah, how many times we were looking for something in our room, trying to find, and we couldn't find, but then still it existed, yeah, finally. So it means that we don't deny Atman. We just discover that we are not able to find anything that is performing actions or is receiving sensations or experiences. So this is the principle of Anatman. And then if you go to Mahayana Sutras, for example, in Mahayana Sutras, there is Mahaparinirvana Sutra. There is Mahaparinibbana Sutta in Pali language, but there is a Mahaparinirvana Sutra in Sanskrit language, and their name is totally the same, just Pali language and Sanskrit language, but these are 2 totally different books, totally different. One is quite not so big, quite small, and another one is huge. And in this second one is a Mahayana scripture. Mahaparinirvana Sutra is a Mahayana scripture. And there you can find some explanation that Buddha is saying. And Buddha was never talking about himself. He was never saying I, me. He was never saying like this. He was always saying Tathagata. You know, it's something like in our culture, we can find it when some kings are saying, the king is telling to you. It's not, I am telling to you, I'm a king and I am telling to you. I don't say this simple way, I am telling to you. That the king is telling to you. Or something like the father is telling to you, saying something important. So Buddha was always referring to himself as Tathagata, somebody that goes. Yeah? Because there is no self, no me for Tathagata. Yeah? It means there is no this idea. But then he was saying that Tathagata is teaching different students, different beings, according to their inclinations. Not only to capacities, but also to inclinations. And so for those who are clinging to existence, Tathagata is teaching the principle of anatman. But for those who are clinging to non-existence, the Tathagata is teaching the principle of atman. And then if you read Mahayana text, then we can discover that this Tathagata Garbha sounds pretty much like Atman in many aspects. Not in all aspects, but in many, that there is something that exists. Yeah, you know, in some Buddhist schools like Gelugpa, when they say that Buddha was teaching, they say that he was teaching Hinayana. It was the first turning of the wheel, and then he was teaching like Prajna Paramita, from which Nagarjuna derived Madhyamika. And then Buddha was teaching it was the second wheel, and then the Buddha was teaching the third wheel, the third turning of the wheel, which was about Tathagata Garbha. Yeah, about this thing, like Vijnanavada was derived from that, the school of philosophical school of Vijnanavada. Buddha was not teaching Madhyamika or Vijnanavada. Buddha was teaching Prajna Paramita, and then he was teaching Tathagata Garbha. Yeah. And it was like a denial of what was before. So like in Prajna Paramita it says that nothing exists. And then in the third turning of the wheel, Buddha was explaining that, yes, there is some principle. Like in Diamond Sutra, you can find words that the bodhisattva doesn't have an idea of self, of being a bodhisattva, etc. If you have an idea that you want to save all sentient beings, that you're not a bodhisattva. Like denying previous things. But then Buddha was explaining this Tathagata Garbha, like our real nature, like Buddha nature. It looks like something that exists. So in some schools, like in Gelugpa school, they say, oh, this teaching is lower than Prajna Paramita. They say that Buddha was first teaching Hinayana, it was very simple, but then he was teaching Madhyamika or Prajna Paramita, and this was like a peak of Buddhist teaching, but it was so complicated, people could not really understand it. So the Buddha went a little bit down one step. And he was teaching like Vijnanavada doctrine or Tathagata Garbha or this idea of Buddha nature, etc. So this is their idea. That the third turning of the wheel is something like more primitive, more simple, and less deep than the second turning of the wheel, which looks a little bit strange. But this is the idea of Gelugpa. This is not a general idea. And for example, in Dzogchen teaching, from the perspective of Dzogchen teaching, we don't consider that the teachings of the third turning of the wheel is lower than the second turning. No. Because then with Prajna Paramita, people easily can get attached to non-existence, etc. So we need to find a kind of balance. So for those who are clinging to non-existence, Buddha is teaching existence, like Atman, something like this. You see, we cannot say that Atman is something absolutely false or fake or useless. No, it is not. No. Because this is important for understanding the Buddha nature. No. But in Dzogchen we say Maha Atman. No. You know this expression, Dagni Chenpo. This expression is very famous in Dzogchen, Dagni Chenpo in Tibetan, but usually now Dzogchen community, Chogyal Namkha Norbu was translating it as a totality of one state. Like Dag means myself, my state, Dagnit, my state. And Chenpo is total. Yeah? So totality of one state, it means everything is included. Everything is included, like nothing is missing. Yeah? Like it's not like you go to the hotel where everything is included. So you go there and you expect everything is included, but then you discover that strong beverages are not included and you have to pay extra. Yeah. So something, or you discover like dinner is not included. Everything is included, but dinner is not everything. Yeah, dinner is, you pay separately. They charge extra. Or for some other services, also you have to pay extra if you need. So it's fake, all included. Yeah. But the in Dzogchen they have real all included. Like nothing is missing. It means you're totally satisfied. But this word, this expression, Dagni Chenpo, in Sanskrit language is Maha Atman. No, Maha Atman. So total Atman. But it means really going beyond the idea of establishing Atman or establishing an Atman. Beyond this idea. Yeah. Because this division, Atman and Anatman, still these are ideas of mind. And when we go beyond mind, that it becomes total. So we have this principle very often in Dzogchen teaching when we use this word Maha or Chenpo. It doesn't mean bigger. Chogyal Namkha Norbu was explaining as a total. And total is nothing is missing or going beyond all distinctions. Yeah. This is the principle. So we say this is the meaning of Dzogpa Chenpo. Dzogpa Chenpo means that nothing is missing. Totally completed, but totally completed not because we accumulated for a long time. No. And also Hundrup means everything is self-perfected, means we don't need to apply effort. So it means we don't need to accumulate merits in a way. Yeah. And this is a very important idea for general Buddhism, to accumulate merits and to accumulate wisdom. But in Dzogchen teaching, we have Kadak and Hundrup, and Kadak means pure, from the beginning pure. Sometimes you can find a very nice English translation. They translate it more or less literally, say alpha purity. Why alpha purity? Because alpha is the first letter of the Greek alphabet. And in our culture, we have this expression from alpha to omega, yeah? From the beginning to end. And this is totally equivalent to the Tibetan Ka, which is the first letter of Tibetan alphabet. Yeah. Also in Russian language, we have a very similar expression. We have names for letters in old Russian alphabet, and the first one was Az. Yeah. The first letter was Az, and we say Ot Azov. It means from Az, from the very beginning. And it's also interesting that in this ancient Russian alphabet, this letter Az and the word Az means, the meaning is me, myself. So the alphabet starts from me. Also very interesting. But Kada, Kane Dakpa means from Ka, pure, from the beginning. From Alpha, pure. Yeah. from the very beginning. And it means that we don't need to accumulate wisdom, because why we are accumulating wisdom? To purify our defilements, to purify our obscuration. This is the reason why we are accumulating wisdom. And the reason to accumulate merits is that we need to develop qualities which are necessary, like for helping sentient beings, like a quality to fly, to fly and to help. You already know how it can be, this flying and helping. And other things like doing some magic and healing, putting hands, whatever it can be. And we need to accumulate merits to achieve it. But in Dzogchen, we say that the method of Dzogchen is the method of spontaneous completion of two accumulations. That's why we say Dzogchen, why we say the word completion, Dzogpa. Why we use it? Because it refers to the ideas of sutra of completing two accumulations. When we say completing two accumulations, we have the same expression, Dzogpa. Yeah. We say Dzogso, completed. So, and we have a total completion. Completion without need to complete. Yeah. Completeness without a need to complete. So we should understand it, because for us, very often, Dzogchen is becoming like a thing in itself. I mean, Dzogchen teaching, not Dzogchen as a state, but Dzogchen teaching is becoming like a thing in itself. But if you read the text of Dzogchen, we understand that these texts, they did not happen just in space, They did not happen in empty dimension. They always have historical context. Maybe when we say that the first teaching of Datal Gyur, etc., which was taught, I don't know, maybe together with the Big Bang, in the beginning of our universe, we say this Tantra, this teaching of Datal Gyur was taught. And we have a text of Datal Gyur Tantra, very famous. Upadesha Tantra. Chogyal Namkha Norbu spent so many years working on that text. But we should not think that the teaching that was given by that first primordial teacher in the beginning of our universe, in the beginning of our Kalpa, this teaching of Datal Gyur was the text that we have now. No. The teaching was the sound. The sound itself. This is the teaching. Not even entering into words, but the sound itself is the teaching. And the sound transcends everything. No, there is no, for sound, there is no obstacle. Even now you hear the sound. I am making some noise here. I am sitting on the 11th floor in my apartment, somewhere in a place with a very strange name, Kiryat Motzkin, yeah? Very strange. I always feel very strange when I say the name of the city where I live. I even feel a little bit embarrassed, and then I usually say I live in Haifa. Oh, I don't know. I have this feeling because I just don't like how it sounds. I don't like the sound. It sounds like very, very shtetl. Yeah, something like this. Shtetl means a small Jewish place in Europe where people are very, very rigid. Yeah, very small, limited, very provincial, etc. So something like this. Yeah, then Haifa is already better. Haifa is 3,000 years old or something like this. Yeah, so you feel more important. And when you live in Kiryat Motzkin, I don't know. For me, it's like embarrassing. But I can manage with that. Not a problem. Jerusalem is aesthetic. This is elegant to live in Jerusalem. This is cool to live in Jerusalem. Living in Motzkin is not cool at all. So, but still I'm making this noise and teaching Dzogchen, like sitting even in Motzkin. You see, this is not an obstacle, yeah? Even in Motzkin you can do this. And you hear some sound, you know, and sounds, of course, this is not really sound that I'm making, but somehow it connects and it makes a function. And the sound itself is an experience. So the sound, even we say the word, like in the beginning there was a word, yeah. Like we have in Christianity, in the Gospel of John. But the sound has a function, and sound is a manifestation, and it manifests on a physical level. So it's connected to our energy itself, you know? And we know this famous Rigpei Tselwang is connected to energy itself, physical energy, something very concrete. And sound is very much related to that. And of course, there is like outer sound, inner sound, secret sound, but sound is related to our experience, very concrete. And this is the teaching. This already is the teaching. It means like this primordial potentiality completely reveals itself in a sound. So this is the principle of sound that transcends everything. Yeah. And then we have a text of that Algyur Tantra, and in the text of that Algyur Tantra, we have some historical realities, like the name of Buddha Shakyamuni is mentioned. Or if you read some Dzogchen Tantras, then we can find some expressions like wolves, yeah? For example, a wolf is mentioned. Or something like a wife is mentioned, yeah? But then if we imagine what was happening in the beginning of our universe with the Big Bang, when everything was created. So definitely there were no wolves there. Yeah, we cannot imagine Big Bang with wolves. Yeah. Also wives, yeah? There was no wife and no husband, also no husband. Yeah? Yeah. No gender. No sex, you know, everything unisex, you know, no political correctness or no cultural appropriation, you know, no sexism, but no sex. When you have no sex, I don't mean that you don't have sex. I mean that biologically, when there is no sex, there is no sexism. Yeah, something like this. So it means that when we are talking about the principle of Dzogchen, it is beyond time. And this is a reality that is constantly manifesting and revealing itself. But when we are talking about Dzogchen teaching, the Dzogchen teaching is in time. And Dzogchen teaching corresponds to circumstances. And in our time, I mean in our historical epoch, it appeared within a Buddhist context. So many ideas of Dzogchen, many of terminology of Dzogchen refers to Buddhist ideas, has a relation to Buddhist ideas, like we say Dzogchen. It's not by chance saying Dzogchen, but also it relates to two accumulations. So if you remember from the base level of Santi Mahasanga, there is a quotation from Guru Padmasambhava. Guru Padmasambhava is saying that this is the principle of total perfection or total completion, which means a spontaneous completion of two accumulations of wisdom and merit. Yeah. So this is the principle of Dzogchen. It means we don't need to apply effort to accumulate merits, and this is like a heresy. Yeah. For Buddhists, this is like a heresy. That's why we keep it secret and we don't talk about this very much. Because in real sense, to totally relax and being totally satisfied is much more difficult than applying an effort with an idea to achieve something. No? When we have an idea to achieve something, then really we can apply any kind of effort to achieve it. You know, when, for example, we want food, or we want sex, or we want recognition, or we want this, or we want that. Even we want to complete the level in a video game. You know, we neglect all troubles, everything, and we just go for it. And this is very easy when we are motivated. So with Dzogchen, it doesn't work this way. It means that if you have this kind of motivation with struggling, with forcing, etc., this is not really principle of Dzogchen. And it is very difficult to really relax and to be satisfied. Yeah. To be satisfied. Okay, my state is not enlightened. I'm totally satisfied with that. My state is being alive. First of all, this is my state of being alive. And this is the only thing I know about my state. Really, I'm alive. I know it. Then other things, I'm not enlightened. How do I know I'm not enlightened? Who told me? Who told you that you are not enlightened? But we decide, I'm not enlightened. Why? Because we heard a story about the Buddha, and we heard the story that Buddha became enlightened. They say, but it means I'm not enlightened. And then we feel a kind of envy to Buddha, yeah, that he is not enlightened, he is enlightened and we are not enlightened. And so this struggle for enlightenment becomes totally dualistic. Yeah. Of course, Buddha was using it, teaching enlightenment and the idea of nirvana for people with low capacities who cannot really relax and discover something, to do at least something good, to develop capacities. But in real sense, we don't need any kind of enlightenment. What we need is knowledge of our own state. And my state is alive, and I have a sound. I'm making a sound, and I hear a sound. And this is my reality. And this manifests on the level of energy itself, on the level of physical energy. So cell, it means something like a power or force, something like this. It means has some function, some concrete function, energy itself. It means you want to drink water, like Danny is drinking water now, and I'm drinking some kind of water. Some kind of water doesn't mean cognac or whiskey, unfortunately, but some ginger water I'm drinking with the ginger and lychee berries, yeah, something like this. No, not lychee, goji. Well, goji doesn't. So, but it means that if I want to drink, I need something physical, concrete. I need cell energy. Yeah. If I just imagine water, maybe if I'm Mahasiddha, it works. But in real sense, I need ordinary water, just water, to quench my thirst. Yeah. And this is physical. This is energy itself. This is something concrete. And in Dzogchen teaching, we always relate to this concrete experience of physical, not just totally mental, being in a mental state. Yeah. Just with the mind, inventing some nature of mind, etc. That's why we say Rigpa Tsewang, which is very important in Dzogchen teaching. You know, it's connected with something concrete, like with sound. For it can be sound of eye, it can be sound of pet, etc. Can be any kind of sound, can be sensation, etc. So this is the principle of Dzogchen, and we relate to our experience, we discover our experience. And in this, we don't know even if we are enlightened or not. Yeah. And then we have no this tension to become enlightened. Yeah. And we can relax. And relaxing is really difficult. It's really, really difficult. Why is it so difficult to relax? Because we have such a strong habit to do things in order to get something. So this is what we've been told from our childhood. If you don't do, you don't get. Yeah. So it's very difficult to relax. But Dzogchen means you don't need to get anything. And it means that we can relax. Yeah. And be satisfied. Yeah, oh, maybe tomorrow the world will go to hell. Who knows? Like it is said in Kuntu Sanpo Monlam, invocation or prayer of Samantabhadra. It doesn't mean we are praying to Samantabhadra or invoking Samantabhadra. Hey, Samantabhadra, listen to us. No. It means we are Samantabhadra. When we do Kuntu Sanpo Monlam or invocation of Samantabhadra, we are Samantabhadra. And we have invocation, we have some aspiration. Monlam is in Sanskrit is pranidhana. Pranidhana is one of paramitas of bodhisattvas. When we make a wish and this wish comes true. But it does not, in Dzogchen, it does not come true in the future. It means we discover it's already fulfilled. Yeah. And in Kuntu Zanpo Monlam, you find the words that even if a triple world gets destroyed, there is no fear. Of course, if you feel you're not enlightened, you have fear that everything is destroyed. Yeah. But if you just discover your state and you remain in the recognition of your state, even the world goes to hell, but there is no fear about it. There is no problem with this. So quarantine, epidemic, and whatever, losing your mobile phone and other catastrophes, yeah. So you see, this is our condition. And this is the most important thing in Dzogchen. We discover, we refer always to our experience, not create something imaginary, like imaginary enlightened, and then we struggle for it, for this imaginary enlightenment. No. And become satisfied. And then we discover, and then we say that we apply the method of self-liberation. But the method of self-liberation, it's not so easy to understand. It means totally relaxing, which is very difficult. You know, in Tantra of Vajrasattva and Dorje Sempa Namkache, in this Tantra, usually we say this is a loom, or like agama, a piece of Tantra, like some essence of a Tantra, a chapter of a Tantra, something like this. But also there is a Tantra. And in this text, it is said that it is difficult and easy or simple. And it is difficult, right, because it is so easy. So in a way, relaxing must be easy. Must be so easy. But right because of this, it is so difficult, because it's so easy. Also, we cannot even believe it works. How I relax, I don't do anything, and then I achieve everything. No, don't achieve everything. We discover we already have everything. Do I already have everything? Then we need to check, you know, because we don't believe. We try to check, and then we discover I'm missing this, I'm missing that, etc. But this is the idea of mind. I should have this or that. I should have a tongue that can touch the end of my forehead, or 40 teeth. Okay, this now with the modern technology is manageable. We can really do it. Yeah, we can make 40 teeth. Why not? You know, we can go to plastic surgery, and they put us as many teeth as we like. You know, or tongue also can be an extension. You know, some people extend their legs, adding like 20 centimeters to their legs with bones. So with tongue must be even more easy with tongue. So if you want to have a kind of a penis like Buddha has inside your body, I think it's also possible you can have some surgery for that. Yeah. And membranes between fingers. So why not? Not a problem. Can do anything. You know. Take extra pieces of your of your body, you know, and attach like membranes between your fingers. Yeah. Something like this. But it is mind which is discovering missing or complete, and we go beyond mind. So when we go beyond mind and we refer to our existence, we relate to our existence. and we discover our real condition of being alive, being sentient. And we remain in this, relaxed. And then whatever manifests liberates. It means does not create attention, does not become a prison, because for us everything becomes a prison. Like everything that manifests, it blocks our attention. That's why they call the devil that blocks. Yeah, blocks our attention. Our mind becomes totally blocked by that. It becomes like a prison, attention. But we recognize it as our own state. There is nothing external. We recognize it. Yeah. And then there is no prison. There is self-liberation. But for self-liberation, we say, maybe we don't understand the principle of self-liberation from the beginning, because it should be something continuous. Self-liberation is something continuous, something that does not interrupt. It's like the potentiality of our energy, it never interrupts. You see, in Sutra teaching, we have a principle of anitya, famous. And anitya means mitakpa, or it means that it doesn't continue. Everything interrupts. So when we observe all phenomena, they all interrupt. They all have coming and going. They manifest and they disappear. That's why we say they're impermanent, anitya. It doesn't mean that just we buy a computer or a car and in the end it breaks sooner or later. No. It means that moment by moment, appearing, manifesting, and then disappearing. So this is a very important principle in Buddhism. But in Dzogchen, we have magakpa. Magakpa means uninterrupted. So the energy uninterrupted. And according to Sutra teaching, we cannot have anything uninterrupted because everything is impermanent, anitya. But we have our presence, our potentiality uninterrupted. This is very important, but it is very difficult because we get always distracted. We can easily get distracted. Even we recognize, why not? Some people say, oh, for recognizing the state of Dzogchen, you really need to have qualities like enlightened beings. Well, if you're already an enlightened beings, why would you need a teaching? No, it's possible. And it's amazing. What is amazing, what is really amazing me when I just reflect the activity of our teacher, of Chogyal Namkhai Norbu. What is the most amazing thing for me is that in his very basic and I would even say the word primitive language, English. Yeah, he was teaching in English, and his command of English was not very good at all. He didn't know many words, or like he didn't know elegant words, or he didn't really know complicated grammar. And with this simple language, communicating, and of course it was not only language, but all levels of transmission, with his presence, yeah, with his mind, with his physical appearance, with everything, he made so many people understand the principle of Dzogchen. This is what is absolutely amazing. So many people. So if you really need to, if you really want to develop the capacity of self-liberation, and even we don't understand from the beginning, but we have like a simplified version. We have 3 ways of liberation. It's not 3 parts of liberation like Sutra, Tantra, and Dzogchen. No. We can find some parallels, some common patterns, but it's not like this. And these 3 ways of liberation is Randrol, Shardrol, and Cherdrol. And I don't know if there exist Indian prototypes of these words. I don't know. Maybe it's just explanation from Tibet, but this is very precise explanation. This is not like 3 different kinds of practice that we are applying, but these are 3 different capacities, 3 levels of capacities, how we deal with manifestations, and particularly how we deal with thoughts. Yeah? And if you study, for example, Dzogchen Semde, then in Dzogchen Semde we have a division for people of higher capacities, medium capacities, and lower capacities. And of course, these are all within capacities being able to understand Dzogchen teaching. It's not about all people. It's only about people who are able to understand Dzogchen teaching, higher, medium, and lower. So the methods that are applied, the principles which are applied, they correspond very much to self-liberation, Randrol, to Shardrol, or liberation upon arisal, and Cherdrol, or liberation through gazing, or something like paying attention. So what are these? What is that? So we can start with the Cherdrol, and Cherdrol means like looking naked, looking sharp, you know? Like something like with no hindrances, no hesitation, just like staring. Yeah. And what does it mean? It means, like, for example, that you discover a thought, you have a thought, and you look at it, and then the thought liberates, and you are remaining in this liberation. Yeah. We don't have an idea to destroy this thought, but just through looking at this thought, it liberates, it disappears. It's like in a quantum world, you know? When you observe something, you change it. Yeah. But in this way, you observe a thought, and you observe it with some attention. There is some dualism in it, but then you discover this thought disappears, and it liberates. And it's like it is said in Dorje Sempa Namkache, in this total space of Vajrasattva, it is said, liberating, it shows the path to liberation. Oh. So a thought, every thought liberates, showing a path to liberation. Show is how liberation happens. Yeah. But we need a kind of effort, even small effort. We have some intention. And we discover a thought when it already has manifested. Already some time has passed. We are in time. We have time. So the thought is arising like a wave. At a certain point, we notice, oh, I have a thought. We don't have a thought, I have a thought, because that would be another thought. But we just notice there is already a thought, and we look at it. There is some intention and action. We stare at it, and it liberates, and we relax in this liberation. And then another thought is coming, and we stare at it, and we relax in this liberation. So this is called Cherdrol. But it's not enough that the thought disappears. It means that we discover how it disappears, where it disappears, and there is aspect of ourselves being in this liberation. Not just an object that was there and now it's no longer there. But when the thought disappears and we have this condition of emptiness and we recognize who is present in this emptiness. And then it is compared, the metaphor for this is when the sun is rising in the morning and on its leaves there are dewdrops. And then when the sun is rising and is heating slowly, then these dewdrops evaporate. Slowly, it takes time. This is a process in time. So this is not really Dzogchen. And this also relates to Maha Yoga, to the Maha Yoga principle. And then we have Shardrol. Shardrol means liberation upon arisal. And it means that even though we can discover our instant presence, the primordial state we can discover, but still we get distracted and we fall into a kind of forgetful state without much presence, even though there is some presence, but in real sense, it's a little bit like sleeping state, a little bit like interruption. But then something manifests, and when something manifests, it wakes us up immediately. It wakes us up and we discover its nature immediately when something is manifesting, like a thought is manifesting. So the thought is not something bad. The thought is something good, because when we say that, we can remain in the state of alaya. Like in meditation, we can remain in the state of alaya, or kunshi, the base. And this is not an enlightened state. This is just the base from where everything is manifesting. And this is a kind of indefinite state. We cannot define, we also cannot make it an object, but there is no recognition. This is not Dharmakaya. And then what we need something to manifest from this alaya to wake us up. Anything can be sound, can be a thought, can be any manifestation. So when something manifests, it wakes us up. It's like when we are asleep and then there is some sharp sound and it wakes us up. We are no longer asleep. We recognize what's happening. But this can be even a thought is waking us up. Not the meaning of a thought, but just movement itself. So it's like it's arising, and immediately, as soon as it is arising, it wakes us up. And we discover this is our state. This manifestation is our state. Not in front of ourselves, but within ourselves. Our manifestation. Our presence manifests as a thought, as a sound, whatever. And then it wakes us up. And the metaphor is like, okay, this is a difficult metaphor. So it's a Tibetan metaphor. And for Europeans, and particularly like for Russians, it's very easy to understand it. Also like for Swedish people, for Canadians, something like this, because it's about snow. So maybe for South Africans, for Australians, also for Israelis, it's quite difficult to understand this metaphor of snow. Yeah. Yeah, some. I saw people like in Venezuela. I saw people that never saw snow in their life. But the metaphor is when the snow is falling on the surface of a lake. As soon as a snowflake is touching the surface of the water, it becomes water immediately. First, it's snowflake. It looks like something very different. But as soon as it's touching the water, it becomes a water. There is no time gap for it to become a water, immediately. So as soon as we discover something, this is a wisdom. We don't need to transform it into wisdom. But this is a wisdom. We discover the wisdom like in Anu Yoga. A little bit. We discover a space, but in Anu Yoga, we discover space. And then whatever is in this space is wisdom. But here we discover some movement. This movement wakes us up. And so it is wisdom. This movement is wisdom. It's not like Beatles said, Mother Mary comes to me like speaking words of wisdom or something like that. Anything can be words of wisdom. Anything. Holy shit can be words of wisdom. Yeah. The sound of somebody's farting can be words of wisdom. Yeah. Whatever. Because it wakes us up. And we recognize, because in every single contact of senses with the objects, there is instant presence. So this is the principle of Shabdrol, or non-duality between arisal and liberation. And then we have Randrol, and Randrol is self-liberation, and the metaphor is like a snake which is coiled. And we looked at it, is very complicated, many coils like knots. And it looks like it's impossible to move. But when the snake starts moving, when a snake starts moving, it meets no obstacles. It means that we are already in this state. Whatever is there, empty state or manifestation, calm state of movement. So whatever is there, we have no problems. It's the same state. So we remain uninterrupted in this self-liberation. It means we are not getting distracted. We are not missing the beginning of a thought, like in Chebdrol. And we are not falling into indefinite state, like a sleepy state, even though it seems that there is presence, but in real sense, there is no recognition. But it's comfortable, it's nice, there is no judgment, etc. But there is also no recognition. And when something happens, it wakes us up and brings us recognition, whatever happens. So when we don't have these two problems of missing the thought and of not recognizing, missing manifestation and not recognizing the manifestation. Like it is said in Kunjet Gyalpo, we have two types of obstacles, when we don't see and when we don't recognize. So not seeing is a karmic obstacle, and not recognizing is a cognitive obstacle. Something like this. It is said like in the 8th chapter of Kunjet Gyalpo, Dzogchen Tantra. We don't have these two obstacles, and then we just remain in this state without interruption and without losing presence and recognition. And this is self-liberation. So now we try to, to work with this method. With the simple method of Chebdrol, we try to work. And it means that we sit comfortably, and then we observe ourselves. And whenever whenever a thought is arising, then we look sharply into his face. This is the expression of Chogyal Namkhai Norgu. It doesn't mean that a thought has a face, no. Because if it had a face, that also should had a rear, you know. Very often we look into the rear of our thoughts. Yeah? You know? It's like you come to the station, but you miss the train and you see the rear of the train, yeah, the tail. So it's like with the thought, oh, I just had this thought, but it's already gone. You just notice the tail, the rear. Yeah. Maybe a thought is just rising the tail, and then we see what's there. Yeah. But into the face, it means straight, without hesitation, without any hindrance. We stare at the thought sharply. We concentrate on the thought. How we concentrate, I cannot explain how we concentrate. Yeah, there are things it's impossible to explain. Because you know, for example, how to raise your hand. Yeah. But if I ask you how you do, you cannot explain, no? So in the same way, like we concentrate on a thought. And it also means that we have a capacity to understand what it is to concentrate on a thought sharply. So we have a thought and we concentrate on it, and then thought liberates. And then when it liberates, we also liberate from effort. We no longer need an effort. So we relax together with the thought. We concentrate, like Chogyam Kanor was saying, like in triangular way, with everything. We concentrate on the thought, and then we relax. Then we concentrate, and then we relax. Then after we train a little bit, maybe we don't need much effort. We just need to throw a glance at this thought, just to look at this thought, and it liberates. But then still we have to relax. We don't need this effort anymore. So we do this is like a shuttle movement. Concentrating on a thought, relaxing, concentrating, relaxing, concentrating, relaxing. So this principle of alternating concentration and relaxation is a very important thing, is unique in Dzogchen teaching. Unique feature of Dzogchen teaching. I never met anything like this in any system of meditation practice, of contemplative practice. Concentrate and relax, concentrate and relax, and find a proper balance in this way. So this is how we do. And then we just relax in the contemplation, applying more effort. So we apply this method for some time, and then we relax. So every time we concentrate on thought and we relax into emptiness. Then a thought is arising, and we concentrate on thought. It's arising from emptiness, then it's relaxing into emptiness, and we again remain in empty state, in a calm state. And then slowly, slowly, this calm state can become a little bit continuous. And when it becomes continuous, the main point is to recognize this is still our state. To recognize this presence which is experiencing this calm state. And when we recognize this presence which is experiencing this calm state, thoughts still manifest. So even we remain in this recognition and a new thought is manifesting, but we already recognize it within the same state of instant presence. And then we discover that this manifestation of thought is not different from the empty state. Yeah. So this is how we do this practice of Shine, and also union of Shine and Haton in the Dzogchen teaching. This is how we do. So we try to do it for few moments. So we start with Guru Yoga. We start with Guru Yoga and we apply this method. And then I snap my fingers. Because I don't have a bell to do some nice, elegant sound. So I just snap my fingers, and it means that we can relax. Yeah. Why I'm snapping fingers? You know, of course, Chogyam Kanor was never snapping fingers like this. But we need to coordinate something. Usually, when we have collective practice, then we make it with a sound. Yeah. But we relax. We apply no effort. And then we just remain in this contemplation for some time. And then again, we do Guru Yoga. And this Guru Yoga, this white eye, is just any other thought. No problem with that, like any other thought. And we recognize it, and we remain in this presence, and then we relax. And then we continue with the Song of the Vajra, and then we dedicate merits. Aranayati Sanora Masmisa Goli Taya Pa Gora Gora Sangha Karna Sirna Monda Monda Chishasa Kela Sa Hare Om Dare Dare Mendare Swaha Jaya Jaya Siddhi Siddhi Phala Phala Ahasha Sama Mama Ngone Okay, so we have finished our short course of 5 sessions, and I think that we can continue after May 10, because on May 1 to 10, I'm giving a Santi Mahasanga first level retreat. This is a restricted retreat, and only those who did first level training can attend it. And I do it on the request from Australia, from Namgilgar. I think the announcement has just arrived. I just saw the notification popping up. Yeah, Arno, you sent the notification already.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Okay. So those of you who did the first level training, then you can sign in for this retreat and join for 10 days. We're going to study and practice. But those who did not, don't get desperate, and we are going to continue our study and practice. And I think the first Saturday after the May 10, probably this is May 16, I guess. So I hope we will continue on May 16, and we will have another course and do some practice, like with Rushans and Samzins, and different discussions like a view, meditation, and behavior of Dzogchen, related to Santi Mahasanga base, also to the Precious Ways teaching, etc. So I hope it was for you, it was interesting and useful, and I hope you could discover something, and not having just intellectual thing, but also connecting to the direct experience that we all have related to our concrete existence, to our self energy, our physical body, our sensation, etc. And I wish you all well, and I hope we will soon meet again. And I'm turning the sound for you.
Спасибо.
Спасибо большое.
Grazie.